Okay, let's dive into this. Picture this. It's 7:14 a.m. on a random Friday. Before her morning coffee even finishes brewing, a pharmacy technician in Toledo, Ohio, pops open her banking app and moves a very, very specific amount of money. She does this in complete silence, at the exact same time every single payday. And get this, she has literally never mentioned it to anyone. In this explainer, we're going to break down this mysterious, hidden routine. It's actually a brilliant strategy that quietly builds a full year of savings, especially when every other method just seems to fall flat.
So take the number $2,380. That is Renata's actual monthly take-home pay. Now, if you've ever gone down the rabbit hole of traditional financial advice, you know exactly what the experts say about a number like this. They'll tell you it's just way too small. I mean, by the time rent, utilities, insurance, and groceries take their bite, traditional wisdom basically tells us there's absolutely nothing left over to save.
But here is the totally impossible reality. She saved up 3 full months of survival money. Yeah, Renata actually pulled off what the entire advice industry considers completely unachievable. She built this massive safety net while juggling a tight, constantly moving paycheck. And she did it quietly using a hidden but incredibly teachable rule.
And that whole rule, it's built entirely around one core number, 50 bucks. But before we can really get into the specific mechanics of how this tiny little number does so much heavy lifting, we've actually got to unlearn a whole lot of bad advice first.
Which brings us to Section 1, why traditional advice fails.
Listen, I want to speak directly to you right now. If you've ever tried to save up an emergency fund and just couldn't make it happen, it is absolutely not your fault. The plan failed you. And honestly, the data completely backs this up. According to the Federal Reserve, nearly 4 in 10 American adults literally cannot cover a $400 cash emergency. So if that sounds kind of like your financial reality, believe me, you are not alone. Researchers over at JPMorgan Chase even found that for lower-income households, income swings by double-digit percentages from month to month. Your paycheck isn't just small, it's a constantly moving target.
So the crucial point we really need to understand here is that standard advice, like save 20% of your income, is just fundamentally broken for most of us. Like 20% of what exactly? Any plan that assumes you have this calm, predictable surplus every month was clearly written for somebody else's life. Percentages really only work for people with predictable leftovers. For the rest of us, 20% of nothing is, well, still zero.
Section 2, setting the next tile.
This brings us to a really pivotal metaphor that completely changed Renata's approach to money, especially after those traditional savings plans failed her twice. She was talking to her uncle, a guy who laid tile for 31 years, and asked him how he handled these massive, endless projects like giant hotel lobbies. His response? He said, "I've never set a floor in my life. I set the next tile." And this brilliantly illustrates the exact psychology we need for personal finance. He didn't stress out about the massive, overwhelming lobby. He just focused on setting one level, perfect tile. And then, and only then, he'd look at the next one.
Now, what's really fascinating is how perfectly this translates into behavioral economics. As the researcher Richard Thaler points out, big plans don't die of math, they die of the view. See, we treat huge, distant goals very differently than small, right-now actions. Staring up at a giant $20,000 goal from a tiny $300 starting point, that doesn't motivate you. In fact, it actively votes against you. The giant gap does all the talking, and honestly, the view just makes you want to quit.
So how exactly do we fix the view? Let's get into Section 3, the 3 moving parts.
There are 3 very specific moves to this $50 rule that you'll need to master to successfully build your own financial wall. Number 1, the brick. Number 2, the conversion. And number 3, the ceiling.
Let's start with the strict definition of Move 1. The brick is simply a $50 unit. And here is the absolutely vital part. It is the only unit your emergency fund is ever allowed to exist in, period. So Renata stripped her budget down to her bare-bones survival number, just rent, utilities, food, transport, and insurance, and figured out it was exactly $1,700 a month. So a whole year of survival, that's $20,400. She divided that big scary number by 50 and got exactly 408 bricks. From that day forward, she never looked at the total massive number again. She just set up an automated payday transfer for $50, just one brick, automatically moved on payday before she could even notice it was gone.
Move 2 is what we call the conversion. And honestly, this is the hidden engine of the whole system. Think about when you stumble into freed or found money. Maybe you finally cancel that $89 storage unit, or you get $1,140 tax refund.
Human psychology naturally wants to sort that into fun money, right? And then it just evaporates. But the conversion engine requires a super strict 24-hour capture window. That tax refund? It has to instantly become 22 bricks before any temptation sets in. This fast conversion is exactly how a tiny $50 habit actually builds up at warp speed.
Then we have Move 3, the ceiling. The definition here might sound a little strange, but it is incredibly crucial. Never make a savings decision bigger than $50. Seriously, it purposefully keeps the plan totally boring because you see, the exact same burst of ambition that makes you say, hey, I'm feeling strong this month, I'll throw on $300, is the exact same ambition that'll make you quit entirely when you inevitably have a bad month. The ceiling prevents those random spikes of emotion and completely protects you from burnout.
Let's look at how this plays out in Section 4, A Tale of Two Savers. To really grasp the power of this system, let's compare Renata's steady discipline to her coworker Paulette's approach. This proves exactly why this specific framework beats raw willpower every single time. Renata is rocking her $50 automated habit, while Paulette decides to attack a massive $500 ambitious goal. Now they have nearly identical paychecks. Paulette did what the internet gurus told her and attacked that big scary number. And she made it 2 months. But in month 3, her hours got cut. By month 4, just to catch up, she'd need to come up with $1,000. The math literally laughed at her. Her ambitious percentage-style plan just died of shame. She quietly quit, and today, her savings are sitting right back at zero.
Meanwhile, let's track Renata's timeline. Month 1, she starts laying her tiles. By month 4, she had banked 34 bricks, that is $1,700, a full month of absolute survival completely covered. Now, fast forward to month 11, our car brakes fail. It's one of those dreaded $380 surprise expenses. But instead of having a midnight panic attack trying to move numbers around, her wall simply absorbed a 7.5 brick hit. She paid the mechanic, drove home, and felt absolutely zero panic.
Which brings us to this really profound truth. A percentage plan misses a month and dies of shame. But a brick wall, it just waits. The emotional resilience of this method is just unmatched. The wall does not judge you if your hours get cut or if a tire blows out on the highway. It stands exactly as tall as it was yesterday, and it simply waits for the next $50.
Section 5. Start laying your bricks.
Okay, so I want to guide you on exactly how to execute these moves starting tonight. But a quick, vital caveat first. If your income genuinely sits below your survival line, like if your math is already negative before any bricks are even laid, a savings habit isn't going to fix an income gap. But if you have even a little bit of slack in your budget, here are your 3 actionable steps. Step 1. Find your stripped-down, brutally honest survival number for 1 month. Multiply it for your total goal, and then divide that number by 50. Write that specific brick count down just once and put it away. Step 2. Set up that automated payday brick right now. Make it literally the first transaction of your pay cycle. Step 3. Start a conversion list for any freed-up money. Oh, and keeping this money in a high-yield savings account acts as the ultimate foundation because eventually it'll start laying its own bricks through compound interest.
So this leaves us with one final, kind of provocative question to end on. What is your brick count? Seriously, take a few minutes today to calculate your real survival number. Divide it by 50 and stop staring at that huge, overwhelming empty floor ahead of you. Because tomorrow morning, you just need to wake up and lay your very first tile.